Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right, come on in, everybody. Welcome back to the Holler. Doctor, no, we're going live right now, so join us now. tnholler.com is where you can find us at the TN Holler on Twitter and Facebook. We also, of course, have hollers all across the state. Thanks to your support, we really do appreciate that. Today, we're going to go live. And also, by the way, if you're buying or selling in Middle Tennessee, do it through Elisa Parker. She is very supportive of us, and that's a way to support us. Wanted to jump on here today to talk about what happened last night. Who better to do it with than someone who was there and who is never shy about his opinions on these things. Representative Cohen, how are you this morning?
I'm fine. A little tired from the long night and watching a little bit of the rehash on TV. And I'm at the airport, and my plane has been canceled. So my 8:43 flight, and I'm now hoping to get on a 1:44 flight.
All right. Well, your misfortune is our fortune, so we have you here for a minute. You know, I guess I would just love to start by you were in the room, so tell us what it was like to be there last night.
Well, even though I kind of knew Trump was at the center of it, and all of his Cro-Magnon co-conspirators, Bannon and Flynn and all of them would have been involved, it was still chilling. It was chilling to see it put out so clearly, and how he knew from the jump that it was a lie, the big lie, and he hadn't lost. And he just, as he said over the years, he says, I really like the uneducated. That's who I really like. Well, it's obvious because they buy his BS. And it was just disgusting to see this man, who is the most awful human being, I think the most awful human being just about in the country, not just in politics, but just in general, and was when he was a TV celebrity and a crook doing real estate in New York City and around the country. But to see how he defiled our nation, defiled our White House, our Constitution, and the Capitol building. But it was chilling to watch it. I was happy I stayed over last night and watched it with some of my colleagues. We shared our experiences, and we shared our collective amazement at just the way it was put together. And it was put together well. Benny Thompson is a super chair, and he did a great job. He shot straight. Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger are their profiles and courage. They sacrificed, or probably sacrificed, their career in the Republican Party for the truth and for their oath, and I commend them. And it was it brought me to tears. I tell you, part of it brought me to tears was, of course, the officer, and I watched Officer Evans get knocked over. I saw those videos over and over and over again, because it was some fella who the right wing kind of thought might have been an informant, and apparently he wasn't. He had some from Arizona, and he was a oath keeper, or a Proud Boy, or a Boogaloo, or a Klansman, or whatever he was. They're all about the same. And I saw him go up to a fellow, younger guy, then turned his baseball cap on backwards and whispered something to him. And then the older guy kind of withdrew, and the younger guy with others pushed the first barrier down, which what apparently is called the Peace statue, or the Peace Park or something. And the female officer was there and was knocked over on her back and rolled over and hit her head. And he was one of the guys that was there pushing him. And I watched that over and over because I wondered who that guy was that told him what to do. And it's still kind of a mystery who he was. I saw him later near the White House directing people to the Capitol, this way to the Capitol. So he was involved in somehow. But then she brought me to tears. This woman who did her duty.
I think what you're touching on there, and I want to ask you like what you learned that you didn't know, but what you're touching on there, to me, my biggest takeaway that I sort of knew, but it really laid it out last night, was how coordinated this all was. There's this sense out there that, oh, this was just a rally that went awry and went sideways, but no, this was the plan. And it was coordinated between Oath Keepers and Proud Boys. We've got people charged with seditious conspiracy, and it seems pretty clear that this went all the way up to Trump. Maybe he wasn't the one making the phone calls himself, but look no further than the guys like Bannon and the people who were refusing to testify that I think had their fingerprints all over this coordinated effort. Did it surprise you how coordinated all of this seemed to be?
Yes and no. I'd seen Flynn out earlier talking to people about the possibility of martial law and different things they might need to do, and it shocked me. I thought, my God, but Flynn was serious about it, and when he was first recommended for the position, working with the president, one of my friends who was involved very much in counterintelligence told me, he said he's a problem. He's a strange guy and a wild card. So he was there, and then Bannon, we knew, had some kind of a headquarters set up at the hotel, the Willard.
Oh, we lost you. We lost sound on you, but you were talking about Flynn and Bannon, but we lost your sound. The other thing to remember about Flynn while we try to get Rep. Cohen's sound back is Flynn's brother was in charge of one of the main. We can't hear you.
Okay, we're back.
We're back.
That was my notice that my flight is not till 4:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we won't keep you that long. But you were talking about Flynn, and the other thing about Flynn is his brother is, pretty high up in the military that, may have had something to do with slowing down the response, right?
Yeah, he was at the Defense Department. He was involved. I mean, it was well organized, and one time I remember the guy with I guess, Proud Boys, Enrico Tarrio or whatever his name is. There was some story about him going to the White House, and I think it was like December 16 now. And they said, oh, he was just going to get a tour. It wasn't to get a tour. He went in and talked to Trump personally. Trump lies. He constantly lies, always has. But they started it as far back as December 16. They were involved in working with Trump to do this work on January 6th.
Okay, so we now know what we know, right? We know that, first of all, I think no matter how you feel about what happened on that day, the insurrection, the one thing that's really clear is the big lie was completely obliterated. You've got Barr calling it bullshit. You've got Ivanka saying she believed Barr. You've got a campaign lawyer saying the election wasn't stolen. So now we know all this stuff. We know the big lie was a lie. And, the question becomes, and I guess I would ask you, Rep. Cohen, do you think anything will come out of this? Can we have any confidence? Uh-oh, it looks like we're having trouble hearing you again. I guess I'm going to ask him, if we get his sound back, do we feel like we can count on Merrick Garland and the Justice Department to do anything about this? It seems like
I'm back with you again. I'm now going to New York and then to Memphis and get in 4 hours earlier.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, what I was saying is we need to find out. What I was going to ask you is, do you have any confidence that there will be any charges to the higher ups as a result of this? It seems to me now there's really only two options. You either charge Trump and his crew, or you don't charge Trump and his crew.
I think he'll be charged. I think Merrick Garland, when he said he would take it to however high it went, Merrick Garland saw the path. Merrick Garland, I believe, is a person of high rectitude, moral rectitude, and he's a little slow moving, but he's a straight shooter. And the path was laid out last night, if he didn't already know it. And eventually, Trump will be indicted, in my opinion. Trump will be indicted.
Wow, that's pretty intense to hear that. What do you think will happen when that happens? I mean, do you see a perp walk? Do you see him just refusing to obey? Like, how does that play out?
I mean, he's got no choice but to obey. He'll be booked, and he'll hire a lawyer, and he'll scream that it's a political, and he's didn't do anything wrong, and this is everything political, and Fox News will go on the attack for him. But it's you cannot let this, the worst crime in the history of America, worse than anything Al Capone did, worse than anything that John Dillinger did, I mean, just worse than anything that's ever happened almost in our country, except maybe for mass murders. And and he needs to be arrested and stand trial.
Well, I think it's bold, and I appreciate you being as bold as you have been along the way. And you've been saying this stuff. So last night certainly supported it. I want to play for you a clip. This is uh, Rep. Cheney last night, and this was her message to Republicans who are defending this guy. I thought it was pretty powerful. I want to get your reaction.
Tonight, I say this to my Republican colleagues who are defending the indefensible. There will come a day when Donald Trump is gone, but your dishonor will remain. Finally, I ask all of our fellow Americans, as you watch our hearings over the coming weeks, please remember what's at stake. Remember the men and women who have fought and died so that we can live under the rule of law, not the rule of men.
So that I thought was a really powerful statement from Rep. Cheney. Rep. Cohen, can I ask you, do you have anything that you want to say to people here in our state, like the Marsha Blackburns, Senator Haggerty, and the 7 Republican congressmen who are still going to bat for this guy and have not seemed to waver at all from their support for a guy who clearly led an insurrection?
I would only say to them to think about, read about, and try to emulate Howard Baker. Howard Baker was a leader that went to Nixon and said, "You need to resign," in Watergate. We didn't have a Howard Baker in Trump's presidency, but now, even though it's over, they need to break off and tell the people the truth. Last night on Tucker Carlson, he said that this was all just a totalitarian government putting on a TV show and forcing people to watch it and basically making light of it. Fox News is a propaganda machine for them, and they all need to come to truth, come to Jesus moment, and come to truth and say we were duped, and let's get a clean slate.
What's it like to be serving side by side with people who asked for presidential pardons for their role in this?
Well, I'd heard Scott Peters possibly had. There are
Perry.
others, I'm sure.
Perry.
Scott Perry, yeah, and there are others that probably have as well. It's difficult with most of them you get along with, but the idea that they kind of live a lie, they know they live a lie. It's almost like it's a strange deal. Anyway, I've got to go find this airplane.
Okay, go find the airplane. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you coming on here.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, that's Rep. Cohen. He was dealing with some flight issues, but powerful words. He thinks Trump's going to be charged. I mean, he certainly should be, but in this country, sometimes it's hard to feel like the right thing is going to happen. There's things he should have been charged for a long time ago. So, just to reiterate what we saw last night, I mean, we saw, Barr saying that it's bullshit. In fact, I have that clip, so let's watch that together. This is Barr, who was the attorney general under Trump that Trump appointed. This is what he had to say about the big lie.
I had 3 discussions with the president that I can recall. One was on November 23rd, one was on December 1st, and one was on December 14th. And I've been through sort of the give and take of those discussions. And in that context, I made it clear I did not agree with the idea of saying the election was stolen and putting out this stuff, which I told the president was bullshit. And
I told the president it was bullshit. Does anybody hear that? People who are saying this was a lie? I told the president it was bullshit. That's the attorney general, his own attorney general. His own daughter said she believed Barr. Campaign lawyers last night said there's no there. So regardless of how you feel about the insurrection itself, the big lie is a big lie. And anybody who's still saying this is either intentionally trying to harm the country or so far down the rabbit hole that, there's no coming back from it. But that's the AG saying it was bullshit. And last night we saw some horrifying video of what happened on January 6th that we all know, we all had seen it, but there was even new video last night. We saw Proud Boys, Oath Keepers, part of a seditious conspiracy, stashing guns around DC to overtake the Capitol because they knew they were part of a plan. Hundreds of them that walked away from where Trump was going to speak before he even spoke to go sort of circle around and do God knows what in preparation for this attack. And then I think the thing we need to remember is they didn't kill anybody, and that is luck. They didn't kill any Congress people. They didn't kill Pence. That was luck. Because if they had found Pelosi or AOC or whoever else, I think there's no question they would have killed them, harmed them. And then, where would we be? So, that was their intent. It was pretty powerful, I thought, last night to see the Trump tweet and then hear again them reading the Trump tweet about Pence on a megaphone as they were chanting "Hang Mike Pence." Like, Trump created this weapon that was that mob with Proud Boys and Oath Keepers and then pointed it at Pence in a tweet while it was happening. And they were trying to hang the guy with a gallows outside. A Republican vice president. I see Tracy saying the big lie should be called Donald Trump's final solution. That's a Hitler reference. My grandparents survived the Holocaust. I can't quite go there, but this was horrible. No question. I didn't see Burchett's interview on ABC afterward, Lauren. I'll look for it. He's a humiliating human being, made even more so by the fact that there are people who've known him for a long time who say he wasn't always like this. So he's completely sold out, sold his soul. And, this is now Trump against America. That's what happens when you have an insurrection. It's Trump attacking America. So you can't be on both sides at this point. And again, there's really only two choices now. You either charge Trump or you don't. Neither one is an easy decision, but both come with serious ramifications. If you don't charge Trump, then you've basically said everything that we know about what happened is excusable. And that doesn't seem like a precedent we can set in this country without paying a dear price. And then the other side of it, which is what Rep. Cohen just told us he thinks is going to happen, is he thinks Trump's going to be charged. He seemed pretty confident about it. So that will be quite a moment. That'll probably be a scary moment, honestly. We've already seen how far people are willing to go in this country. We know that so many people didn't watch what happened last night and won't see it because, the Fox News poison propaganda is convincing them that it's still no big deal. So, boy, will they be surprised if he gets charged and arrested and locked up. And then what happens? That will lead to violence. I think it's pretty clear. So that'll be a scary moment. These are scary times. There's no simple way to land this plane. I see Rob saying, excellent summary on the Humanist Report. Okay. Mimi says, charge and convict Trump. Rob says it's the choice between civilized democracy and fascism. Yes, that's exactly right. That's where we are. You've got that guy, Ryan Kelly in Michigan, who was just arrested and charged for his role in the insurrection. He's running for governor. One of his quotes is that democracy always leads to communism. This is how they think. Too many embarrassments to Tennessee and Congress. Yes, one thing that I am really trying to highlight these days Republicans in Congress just voted against gun reform. They voted against a resolution to condemn the Great Replacement Theory. And then last night, these hearings happened, and I look on the Tennessean website, paper of record in our state, and I don't see any of it mentioned. They don't have anything about the hearing last night on that website this morning. So I'm disappointed in a lot of what I'm seeing from our local media. Frankly, it's why we started the holler, but we need to pressure them to start talking about this stuff, because how are we going to fix these problems if nobody has any information about what's going on? And it's not easy. Like, I know the easy choice is in a state like ours, dealing with whatever economic issues they're facing at papers like Tennessean and Gannett or whatever, that it's easy to just be like, oh, well, we just won't talk about the hard stuff. Well, then why do you exist? Like, that's garbage. And there's some good reporters at the Tennessean and Knox News and those places, but there seems to be a clear choice not to discuss what's going on in Washington and what's going on with this country and the horrible votes that are being taken by our senators and our Republican legislators. And it's to me is not okay. And I think, I hope you'll join me in speaking up about that. We need to change that. Lauren says Burchett did sell his soul. I used to meet with him every month when he was the mayor. I don't even recognize him anymore. Mimi says, this is what I'm grateful to donate. Thank you so much for that. Really, it does keep us going. Those small dollar monthly donations really help, and also coming on here and joining us for these conversations really help. Lauren says a peaceful transfer of power can no longer be taken for granted. See, this is, I think, the main point here is this isn't over. We're not looking back. Like this is being sort of framed as like, oh yeah, that happened. No, this is happening. You've got secretaries of state being appointed that are, Q sympathizers and have openly said that they wouldn't have certified the election. Governors, candidates that wouldn't have certified the election. And because we're in a country where we're with an electoral college where we're all linked, all it takes is a couple of states to get it wrong and mess it up. And then where are we? We don't have a democracy anymore. We got lucky last time that there were a few people like Raffensperger and even Pence who did the right thing when they were push Republicans, Trump appointees, Trump judges. But now the litmus test in the Republican Party is, will you stand with Trump even when it's very clear that he's lying and wrong? And if you haven't made that commitment, you're being replaced. Those guardrails that exist may already not be there anymore, and we're going to find out. So, there are people like, for instance, Bill Maher, who I'm not a fan of much these days, but he says like early January of 25, we're going to find out if we're still a democracy, and he's right about that. I don't know. I don't think it's possible to be too alarmed about where we are. Think about it this way. We're all in Tennessee. We're not a swing state, so nobody's really paying attention to our electoral process here. But I ask you this: if we were a swing state, and if it came down to our state, these Republicans in our supermajority, do you think they would do the right thing? Of course not. Of course they wouldn't. Of course they would do the wrong thing. Every single one of them. So I can only imagine that in the other states that we're talking about, there's a lot of people who will do the wrong thing if it comes down to it. And how confident can we be that all of the states are still in good hands? I'm not confident about that. And that's why these elections coming up are really important. This November, the midterms. And that's why we're going to find out where we stand as a country sooner rather than later. And I am not optimistic, frankly. I'm hopeful, but I'm not optimistic. Lauren says Birch had bragged about not bothering to watch. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about it. Not watching last night is a confession. Fox News refusing to air it last night, that's a confession. Because think about it this way. If they were so sure that Trump didn't do this, they should have wanted to watch last night to see him proven innocent. They should have wanted to participate. I mean, they opted not to participate. Like, there could have been a world where they had their own people cross-examining, but they just thought, no, we're just not going to participate because they know. They know what he did. They know who he is. And they know how complicit they all are right now. Right now. So I thought last night was great. And from a presentation perspective, eye-opening stuff, confirmed a lot of the suspicions a lot of us already have. And I think it showed that it's impossible to be too alarmed about what has gone on in our country and who Trump is and what he stands for. And I implore anybody who is remotely open to seeing the light to walk towards it and stop supporting this guy and stop harming our country. Have a good day.